All right, what's up, everyone? Todd Castledine. Gonna do the Sam Rayburn fishing report. Guys, if you like this channel, please subscribe. Really appreciate it. All right, the Sam Rayburn fishing report, guys. This one's gonna be not like your normal fishing reports. You know, I'm not the guy who's gonna come on here and tell you to throw different things on Rayburn. You know, go throw a Cinco around or a fluke around or fish the edge of the grass. That's not really what these reports are about. They're a little bit more in depth. A little bit more, I kind of want y'all to think about things and kind of like, and that way you can kind of prepare for what's about to happen on the water. And I think as I go over this report, you'll kind of understand that. We've had some tournaments on the lake. I had a couple days. I had a couple more days after the event. I got so mad after the event because I heard of some, not necessarily patterns going on, but I was shocked to hear some of the patterns that were going on. And I kind of wanted to go out there and try for myself to see what I learned. It was a horrible, horrible day. But we did notice some things, and we're starting to notice some things that are going on with Rayburn. If y'all know, one of the last tournaments we had, one of the last big tournaments we had, 29 pounds won it, okay? Everyone's gonna look around going, oh my gosh, 29 pounds, you know, Rayburn's on fire. Well, 21 pounds was second, okay? And to be honest with you guys, that's not good. 21 pounds is not good for second place. That is not Rayburn showing out. And even when you look at the guys that won it, Chris Wilson and them, you'll notice some things. You'll notice that they had really, really big ones, like a couple of them. And then they had a couple small ones, like 3 pounds maybe and under. Maybe they had a 3.5 in there. I don't know their exact, but I mean, I know for a fact they had at least one under 3. So I mean, they basically had no fish from about 3.5 pounds to almost 7 pounds. Like there was none of those fish in that range. And we've been saying that all year long. There is not, it's usually not that dramatic, but there are not a lot of 3 to 5 pounders in this lake. Maybe 3s, but not a lot of 3.5s to like 5.5s. It's crazy. When you catch one, it's usually under that, or it's like usually over 6. And it just goes that way. And usually everyone that does really good has one of those 6+ pounders in their bag. I think, I haven't looked this up to fact check this, but I'm pretty sure, I think Randy Dearman had 2 fish for 18 pounds. I mean, guys, he had basically, you know, 2 fish that averaged 9 pounds and didn't have another fish. Like if he had just caught 3 14 inchers, he comes in second. And so it's not just necessarily always easy to go out there and catch a 2-pounder. And a lot of times when you're trying to catch big ones, it's hard to catch those small ones. So with that being said, here's what I think about Rayburn. The problem usually in the summertime is they start doing like the same thing, right? They get either really deep, you know, and they get in some piles, and usually there's a morning bite, and the morning bite doesn't even have to be off piles. It can be off kind of structure stuff. What I mean by that is like ledges, drop-offs, points, things like that. But it usually only lasts an hour and then it's done. And so that usually goes on in the morning time. You can usually catch them in piles after that, or you can catch them in the grass. Here's the issue, and we've been seeing this issue in the grass all year. I still think you can win a tournament in the grass, okay? I can go in the grass and catch a lot of fish usually. The problem is they all tend to be the same size. Like it's so hard to catch one over like 3.25 in the grass. And usually if you do catch a big one, it's a really big one, but that's usually all you catch is like one of them a day. 2 is like really exceptional. But there's days I think I can go catch 30 or 40 in the grass. Here's the other problem with the grass fishing. The grass is growing differently all over the lake when it usually does, but they're setting up in it differently. And I can't tell you why that is, but there's certain places that you can only flip them, and certain places that you can only throw at top water, and in certain places you can only throw like a worm, and then other places you can kind of catch them like on a swim jig. And that's what's really strange, is that like there's not setting up to where like there's all these spots you can go throw an old monster in or a worm in everywhere around the lake. And there's not these places, like we got topwater places where it's like you can go into like 10 different places of grass and never get a topwater bite, and then this one other place you can get topwater bites. It's very strange, but keep with this theme, guys. So I'm gonna keep, like, just hear me out before I dive too far deep into this thing. So you got that going on. You've got brush piles that are in 30 and they're in 14. You got them on points, flats, drop-offs, ditches. You got them all over the place. And it's like you might hit 25 of them without a fish, and then like the next 4 you get bit in. Okay? It doesn't really matter how deep they are or where they're at, but you can get bit in those. They're semi-close to each other, right? And so it doesn't matter if they're big, small, new or old. I mean, none of that matters, right? It's just that's what's going on. There's a frog bite. The frog bite has nothing to do with peppergrass, has nothing to do with hay grass, has nothing to do with hydrilla, doesn't have anything to do with bushes, doesn't even have anything to do with pads. Okay, you can get bit in all that stuff. The problem is you can go fish 2 miles of hay grass and never get a bite. You can go fish peppergrass for hours and never get a bite. You can do the same thing with bushes, pads, everything. When you do find some, they're usually pretty consistent. Now, when I say some, you might get 2 or 3 on a stretch, or 1 on a stretch. It might be 1 in like a couple casts, but you could almost always go there and get 1 on those couple casts. All this is going on Rayburn. And what we have found out, when I say we, like my buddies, me and Jason and Russell, we're all kind of putting our thoughts together, looking at a whole as not of what's going on in the past week, but it's like in the past 2 months. What we're seeing is fish are relating to everything, and there's no real great pattern, right? And when we say a pattern, there's no real great pattern, and we're going to look at it from a tournament perspective, right? There's no real great pattern to win a tournament. There's small little patterns, and those small little patterns might be for 12 pounds here, or 14 pounds here. You know, how Chris Wilson did it. That's a pattern to catch 29. The problem is you take out one of those big fish, and he goes from 29 down to 21. Say you take out 2 of them, now you're down to like 14. You know, like there's not those other fish to put in there to make his bag even bigger. And that's why it dropped off so big from first to second. And I knew it was going to happen. I knew someone was going to catch at least 2 big ones. I said, someone's going to catch 2 big ones to win this event. It might even take 3. And that's exactly what happened. And so as this is going on, and even as it's moving on into July like we're still seeing that same thing take place, is that like you need a big one. You can usually catch, you know, on a good day, to do really good, you're going to have 2. But the problem is those big ones and these fish are coming in such small areas, and that's the key. I'm not saying I know what areas those are. I'm finding them out as I go along, but it's crazy. You can't go run that pattern of key small areas. Like you go run this pattern in the back of a creek, and you find 3 or 4 fish back there, either in the grass flipping or frogging or throwing a worm, and you go, okay, well look at these next creeks set up the same way, and you go in those creeks and you never catch anything in any of them. Like it's not a pattern. And it's the same thing like when we've caught them in the grass. You can be going down stretches of grass and you'll catch one for whatever reason in this one section of grass, and it looks like all the rest of the grass, and you can consistently get bit in that one little section. It might be a 30-yard section of grass, and you'll find little places like this all over the lake. But it's impossible to see what it is. I have gone up there, I have looked at the grass, I've tried to figure it out. I've tried to look past the grass for perch beds. I've tried to look for everything. And I to this day cannot figure out why these fish set up where they're at, specifically right there. And it's like that in the hay grass. You can fish miles of hay grass, and then all of a sudden find one little section that has fish in it, right? And the problem with that is it's kind of good when you find them, but man, I'm just telling you, those fish leave really quick sometimes. They might be there 2 weeks and then they're gone, and you spend a lot of hours covering a lot of dead water to find 1 or 2 little places. You put in it the fact that it's just dead middle of the summertime, and now your windows of fishing are getting smaller, and we've been noticing that. Usually sometime in March and April, let's just beginning January, your windows of catching fish are like this in January. What I mean by that is you got a full day, your usually window of catching them is this big, and all this other time is almost dead time. Like you just almost never catch any fish. And as it gets closer to the springtime, those windows get bigger, to where almost sometimes you can just catch them from daylight to dark. It don't matter. You can't even tell that there's a fishing time in there. And then summertime hits, and those windows kind of get broken up into morning times and the afternoon times, and there's the windows are still pretty big. There might be a small little window where you don't catch them. And now the summertime comes, like dead summer, and like those windows start to narrow down to where you had an hour and a half in the morning time, now you have an hour. The summertime, or now it used to start at 11 or 12. Now it starts at 2 or 3 before you get bit. And that's the problem, is that these windows get smaller, so you go through longer periods of dead time of not catching them. And so when you're trying to run patterns, you're trying to figure out Rayburn, you might be on the right stuff, but you might have hit it 2 hours too soon, right? And they might start biting later on, 2 hours later from there. So that's kind of the issue we're figuring out. Like I said, we've caught them doing everything, and you can catch them from one end of the lake to the other, which is usually late. For the past couple of years has been rare, but I mean, I'm talking about from past 103 all the way down to the dam. You can catch them. Now the patterns are going to change, but you can catch them from one end of the lake to the other. We did it the other day. I mean, we ran from one end of the lake to the other, up the other side, and we caught fish. They were all kind of doing a little bit different stuff. We just kind of fished what looked good to us. I mean, we'd be liable to be up there in the hay grass and then go fish a pile that's, a couple 100 yards away out there that we just find and get bit in both of them. But then, like I said, you can go fish a couple more piles and not get bites in any of them, and same thing. And it's like that one pile might have them for whatever reason. And then you might go hit 20 and never get a bite. So it's very hard. And like I said, that's kind of the pattern that we're seeing on Rayburn. It's a very strange pattern. I don't know if I can honestly say I've seen this, but it's a very true pattern. And when I mean true, it has been like this for a couple months now, that we have noticed it through the springtime till now, that like it is, you can depend on it. And I don't want to depend on a bad pattern, but that is a pattern you can depend on. It is fishing like that. It is fishing more spotty than it is patterning. Okay, so like what I mean by that is, wherever they're at, you can catch them sometimes doing different things, and they might be set up on different different grasses or different whatever, but they still use that one little bitty spot. And that's just strange to me, because I'm telling you, for the most part, from what I've always seen on Rayburn, is once you find the pattern, you can run it. Sometimes you can run it without even fishing it. I mean, you can just run up and down the lake, look at it, see it, and get bit, and it's instant. And that is not the case. I mean, it is almost impossible to see the pattern. Now, I know there's gonna be some guys going, oh, well, yeah, you can do this, this, and this. I understand. I'm not saying that this is the exact science of it all. I'm just saying this is what's going on for a lot of people. And I know a lot of people go, well, they'll look at it from a 1 week standpoint of going, well, I went out there, this week and ran it all, and it worked this week. But if they haven't been out there this is the last week or the last week after that, I'm telling you, those places where you could have gotten 15, 20 bites of doing this have gone to almost zero. Like it is changing that much. For whatever reason, they are leaving some of these patterns and some of these places, and the spots are getting fewer and far between. Where you might have had 10 spots in the grass that it took you a while to find, now you have like 2. And it's just really, really interesting right now how that's playing out. So I don't know if that helps, guys. Like I said, there's obviously a brush pile pattern. That's a given. You can throw a worm, Carolina rig. I don't think it really matters in there. You just got to find the fish. The grass fish, the pattern is usually around this time, there was like an outside edge, and as the sun gets hotter, the lake gets hotter, everything gets hotter, right? Those fish tend to move back further into the grass and get under more of the matted stuff, which is true. That's what's kind of going on. So the outside stuff isn't really that good anymore. It's more the inside, it's more the thicker stuff. The topwater bite is okay in the morning, and you can catch them during the middle of the day, but I think that's slowly starting to go away because of how hot it's getting. Same thing with the hay and the pepper grass. I'll be honest with you. I think the problem with it right now is the water's still so high, and I know it's a foot low, but I think it's high for this time of the year. And when you look back, when you look at the lake as a whole, so if you're sitting in there, and what I mean by that is if you get on the outside edge of the grass and you look up and you have grass starting here, and then you got grass ending here closer to the bank, and then you got this hay grass in between, and sometimes pepper grass sometimes grows on the outside, but mainly grows on the inside of that hay. And then there's sometimes an extra layer of hay behind that pepper grass, and then you got bushes. And so sometimes you're looking back there and going, there is a lot of water still back there. And I honestly think there's still a lot of fish up in there that I'm sure you can catch them, but the problem is there's still so much water and it all looks the same. I think they're very spread out in those areas. I haven't been able to figure out when you get back in some of those areas to like really catch a whole bunch in one little spot. So once again, you're going to be fishing a whole bunch of dead water trying to find fish. And once you find them, like I said, you're not going to be able to pattern them. All you did was find a spot of where some fish are. You don't really find a way to keep reproducing it other than spending hours and hours and hours trying to find more or covering more water, hoping to find another spot. And I don't like to fish that way. I don't like to just go blindly just throw and throw and throw and throw and hope I come across some just to have a spot that might last a week or two. That's not something that I would consider that you could do for a long time. I mean, that would get old, guys. I'm just gonna say it. That would get old real quick. So that's kind of the pattern, or that's kind of Rayburn right now. I'm hoping this will change. I'm hoping more of maybe a summertime pattern, and they start drawing the lake down more, and a lot of things start happening to help concentrate them more, or make them get on a true set pattern where more fish are doing the exact same thing. That's the Rayburn report. I hope it helps, guys. I hope what I'm trying to do is if y'all get out there and y'all are doing stuff and y'all start maybe seeing the same things I'm seeing, maybe you can try to start figuring something out in a way to help you fish better, knowing that this is going on, rather than just going, man, I'm still confused. It might not be the way of like, hey, you need to throw this red bug worm on this weight. I understand that, but I think guys want this. I think guys want more of an understanding of maybe what's going on Rayburn, and so then they can adapt to that, and they can change maybe the way they're fishing or their thought process of going out there and fishing Rayburn. I hope this helps. So let me know if throw a comment up there. Let me know if that's like what you're seeing, or you're seeing something different. And maybe it'll help some guys out. And like I said, guys, the last time I went out there wasn't a lot of people on the lake. It was pretty dead. There were some guys in the morning, and they were gone quickly. So anyways, hope this helps, guys. Let me know what y'all think. See y'all.